Hello, everyone. Today is November 18th, 2021. This is the Kubernetes storage SIG meeting. We'll first go through the 1.23 planning spreadsheet. And then I think there were a few issues we want to talk about on the agenda. So the deadline for code freeze, that was Tuesday. The next deadline coming is actually today. Today is deadline to open placeholder PR. I believe it's actually noontime Pacific time. So, all right, let's actually go over this. First one, delegate FS group to CSI driver instead of kubelet. Chang here?
Yes, most of all the code PRs were merged. Right now, the doc PR is out for review, and there's one more E2E test PR that needs to be sent out before the test deadline next week, next Tuesday.
Okay, this is will be sent out. Okay, to.
How many drivers do we know will be taking advantage of that feature?
Only the Azure file driver right now.
Okay, that's what I thought.
My understanding is this a capability that like Samba has in general? Like, would any SMB driver be able to take advantage of this?
Yeah, anything that can specify UID, GID at mount time, like FAT, ISO 9660, UDF, all those file systems that don't have UID, GID bits built into the file system and need to be specified at mount time would benefit.
Okay.
Oh, I just mentioned that because I guess we do have our SMB CSI driver. That maybe, I think Cheng, you were looking for like a driver to use for testing. That might be a good one.
Okay. Is this is not a test driver. This is an actual driver. That's
it's a real driver. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an Azure driver. Or is this a C? This is a
no
under CSI, right? Kubernetes CSI.
Yeah.
Okay. Kubernetes. Okay, thanks. And the next one is a non-recursive volume ownership. This one goes to GA command.
Yeah, this one was merged. I'm opening the docs PR. I haven't opened it, but I'm opening it like in a couple of hours.
Okay, yeah, I think deadline is probably a couple hours. Thanks. All right. Next one is config FS group policy in CSI driver object. Also goes to GA.
Yeah, this one's done. The code merged and the doc PR merged too.
Okay. We should change the status or should done. Thank you. Next one is recovery from resize failure. Command.
Yeah, the feature merged. I'm working on the docs PR.
Okay.
Well, I had to also work on the external resizer change actually. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Next one is issues related to issuing volumes or mount points. Xing, is Xing here? Need to verify behavior. So if Xing is not here, then I'll just say no update then. Next one is mount related issues. Are we tracking this? I don't see any. It's a bug fix or? Okay.
I think we talked about this last time.
Okay.
We wanted to split out the work that the previous item was
Oh,
tracking, and there's
okay.
like a second separate issue, I think.
I see. This is
maybe
a
add a
performance issue, right? Performance, I see this.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. So this one, we don't have update, right? Yeah. Okay. Next one is PVC inline ephemeral volume. GA. Patrick here.
I think this is done.
Okay.
We can mark it as complete.
Thank you. Next one is volume group. I have not got a chance to update the cap yet. I should do that. So right now it's no update. Next one is CSL tree move iSCSI driver. Humble actually provided feedback. So he said refactoring of iSCSI library is done. Fixed many issues. Working on updating iSCSI driver. Planning to release around 1.23. Let's see his update on this. So looks good. Next one is move Samba CSI driver to GA. Do we have any update? And the Julie, is Matt also working on this as well? Michelle, do you know anything about this? Do we have any update on this item?
I don't think so.
Okay. Great. Okay, next one we marked as done is the deprecation notice for flex volume. I think I just realized that the one that I added, that issue is for, I think that's for the release block. I'm not sure if that's also for release notes. I need to double check. So at least that should be in the release block, but I will check with the release team to make sure also that shows up in the release notes. Next one is PVC volume snapshot.
Hold on, the deprecation for FlexVol, over what time period is that? Like, is it the next year?
So it's already deprecated. Is it already deprecated? Basically, it's just a way of sending this out, right? Just say it's already deprecated. You should move to CSI driver as soon as possible.
Are we going to remove it at some point, or
that
just leave it deprecated?
That I'm not sure. So right now,
okay.
I think right now, I believe we don't really have plan to remove it, right, Michelle? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll just be like
just
permanently
mainly
deprecated?
to say like, yeah, like we're not going to add new features to it. We might do best effort at fixing bugs, that kind of thing.
But you'll get API warnings if you try to use it or something. Or just.
I'm not actually sure you'll get warnings.
All right.
That might be something good to follow up on.
Yeah.
Maybe we should add a warning.
The problem is the person who would receive the warning would be the one creating the PVC, and it's not their fault that the wrong driver got configured in the storage class.
I mean,
It's the admin's fault.
I know, I do see like instances of people that, just used Flex drivers and they just haven't, it's been working and they haven't updated and migrated to CSI. And like the Flex driver actually has a CSI equivalent now. It's just maybe they don't know or something.
Or they're too lazy to change anything.
Yeah, if it still works, why change it?
Yes, I've seen way too many of those cases. All right.
Okay, so next one, PVC volume snapshot namespace transfer. Is Mustafa here? So, okay.
Actually, Mustafa and I had a separate meeting last week to sync up the current idea.
Okay, do you have any update?
Yeah, as we discussed in the last meeting, encryption, secret, and backup use case may need to be considered. but we still don't have our idea for that.
So I was actually thought about, I was thinking about writing some comments that I haven't got a chance to. I was thinking, can we make this like a two-step thing? If secrets is required, then we require the secrets to be transferred using a similar thing, using the what's that called, the reference, cross-referencing. So use that to transfer secrets first before user can transfer the snapshot. So like doing it like a two-step. So when we transfer the snapshot, just we make sure that secrets is already there. If it's not there, then we fail. Something like that. I was thinking about that. Because if a user initiated the secrets transfer, then that means this user knows it, he or she trusts this other user, then it's fine, and all the resources controlled by that secrets will be transferred. So if we make this kind of explicit,
I think that's a better solution to explicitly acknowledge like some sort of secret transfer. But the problem is you can't just transfer the secret and all the resources associated with it, because that's secret
I'm saying
by all of your snapshots.
Yeah, no.
Right. So you might have to copy the secret.
You have to transfer your secret. You have to transfer your secret as first step, and then when you transfer the snapshot, the other secret has to be already available in that namespace. Something like that. Maybe need to
But there's the question of
details.
There's the question of, do you delete the old secret ever or not?
Maybe that's something we need to
question.
Yeah, maybe that's something we need to think about. I'm not sure what is the answer. Do we expect the old one still to be around? It should not be a problem if if that's supposed to be shared, then it should be fine, whether that's there or not, right? When we transfer, why we want to by default delete the original? I mean, is that maybe
it comes down to what the CSI driver does and recommends, and I don't know if we can have a one-size-fits-all solution. So yeah, if there was a facility to manage getting the secrets transferred ahead of time, and then it just works after that, then yeah, we can sort of punt on it and say, look, it's someone else's problem to deal with the secrets, and if they deal with them, then the transfer works.
Something like that. So maybe maybe Masaki, you can think about that, some details, like how to handle it.
Yeah, let's continue discussion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next one is CSI Walling House, adding additional metrics. Unfortunately, the PR did not get merged. There were some issues. I think Ryan is still trying to get those resolved. He was busy the last few days, so that didn't get in. So I think he said he's going to look into that and see. I don't know if it's still possible to get in exceptions. Maybe a little late, but we'll see how that goes. And then next one is CSI Walling House. This is the reaction part. So I think, Nick and I, we discussed about this last time. So we will maybe figure out how to write up some document and move this forward. Next one, volume populator, Ben.
This missed the deadline for 123. The out of tree work can still happen, but the in tree move from alpha to beta will have to wait till 124.
Okay, thank you. And next one is Cozy. Ben, you want to update on this? I think we.
Let me think. Most of what's happened the last 2 weeks has been trying to figure out a solution for how to use a cloud account-based authentication or identity-based authentication. And the struggle is that it's coming up with an API that works the same whether you have access key secret style authentication or cloud authentication. There's no one way to cover both cases cleanly, and we're still spinning on that. As always, that meeting is immediately after this one for anyone who wants to contribute.
Okay. Yeah, I think we need to update that one soon, actually, because it's getting close to the end of 1.23. Yeah, so we'll see. Thanks. Next one, change block tracking. I think Fang is still looking into it, but I don't think there's any update on that yet. Next one is runtime assisted mounting. Is Deep here?
Yeah, hey, so I'm making progress on the cap. The last remaining thing that I'm working on with some prototyping is handling of subpaths. So that's kind of the main remaining thing. And then we'll do another full review.
Thanks. Next one is the CSI proxy for Windows transition to privileged containers. Marcia,
no update.
or Deep? No update. Okay. Next one is CSI migration officially deprecate cloud provider plugins. Java, Michelle. Michelle, are you there?
Oh, I think we're done with this.
Done
I
with
don't think
this?
there's anything else that needs to be
Okay,
done.
there are a couple of those are not on by default yet, right? Is that?
Yeah, that's okay.
That's okay.
I think this one was making sure that like we actually sent out deprecation notices for all the plugins when
Okay.
they went to beta, and I think we've done that.
Okay, so should this one, so we don't need to track this anymore in next release?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. What about this next one? Bugs and issues.
There is one bug that's still remaining. I don't think it will be fixed this in 123, but we might look at it for 124.
Okay. Thank you. And okay, then Azure disk, that's done. So I know the PR is merged. Do we need any doc change on this, Michelle?
Yes, I have a docs PR open to update the feature gates page to say it's on by default.
Oh, okay, thanks. And next one, Azure file. So this one we don't.
They're deferring
okay.
to 124.
Thank you. And this one
is
same,
done.
Right? We have a doc, right? Is it?
Yes, there's a doc.
Okay.
And the PR is merged.
Same
merged? Thing. Yeah, the docs are still open, but the actual PR.
Yeah, okay. PR merge.
Same thing with AWS. Like basically I have one PR that updates all of the clouds at once.
Okay. It's this one. This is the address. Okay. And then next one is a Ceph. Oh
yeah, I think this.
Oh, sorry, missed this one. vSphere, I think, yeah, with this one also delayed. Okay. So this is from Humble because it's a merged, and then there is a doc PR that is merged queue. Anything else, Chef, on this one?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. And next one is the Podworks.
Yeah, I think it's also same boat. The feature merged and the docs PR is under review.
Okay, thanks. And Yeah, so this one is, the next one is always owner reclaim policy. This one is almost there. I mean, the entry PR merged. Oh, actually, I should see if Deepak's here. Is Deepak here by any chance? So yeah, the entry PR is merged, and I think the provisional lib PR is merged, and I think Deepak is updating the external provision.
Merged.
Oh, hi, Yang.
I think everything is merged.
Oh, even the external provisional one. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, PRs all merged. And then this one does not really need a doc change, so it's just a blog that Deepak's working on. Okay, so actually, should we just close? Do we still need this? Need to keep this as start? Need this as this, or should we just sit down? If there's only blog remaining, Michelle. I think I can keep it like this. It's fine. Next one is control volume mode conversion between source and target PVC. So talked to Ronak about this. He is updating the design doc, just incorporating the feedback from the last meeting, because we talked about this in last data protection working group meeting. Next one is the secret protection. Masaki, do you have any update?
Actually, no update for these two items.
Okay, thank you. Next one, user ID ownership in config maps and secrets. Do you have any update? Come on, do you know anything about this one? There's no update for a while.
Yeah, there has not been any update. Basically, the authors sort of, I don't know, yeah, took a break from it, I guess.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Next one is non-graceful no shutdown. So Xing has some ideas, so we talked offline, and then also continue to discuss about this in the CSI meeting. And then if there's no main objections, we can update the cap. The next one is enable user namespaces in kubelet so UIDs get shifted. Come on, do we have any update? So no update on this for a while.
Wait, is this with regard to the ID shifting mounts?
I don't know what this one is.
Proposal?
Command has command's name is here.
Oh,
sorry,
I'm
I was
interested to hear what this is.
This is about running kubelet non-privileged, and yeah, so basically that's what it is about. And
so it's not ID shifting mounts so that the user pods can have correct file ownership?
No, it at least as the design exists, it pretty much ignores the storage.
Oh,
okay.
Is this
okay.
accurate? Is it the description? Is that right?
Yeah, the description is
okay.
Right,
that's fine. All right. So no update then. Okay. Is this
yeah.
actually already done? I think
alpha was done, and they were targeting beta.
Is that? I mean, is this? Do we still? Is this complete, or do we still need to? Is this an update? Is it no update, or is this like complete for this release? Do we know?
So my understanding of this feature is they totally ignored volumes in it.
Oh.
So pretty much volumes will not work with this feature.
Oh, okay.
So I think we need to go in and I guess before they go to beta, say, hey, we think you need to think about how to integrate with volumes.
Yeah,
Okay. But I thought the cap was merged, right? So
yeah, there's the alpha implementation is merged. There's no update for beta. They were actually we can
Oh.
cross this out. They're not even
Okay.
targeting for beta. So
Oh, okay. I was like, because I says
Yeah.
data.
I mean, I think we wanted to track it here so that we don't forget, but like,
Okay.
I think we need to spend some time to go in and understand this feature and figure out how to integrate it with volumes.
Okay. All right, we'll just leave it here.
So
then.
do you know if the feature involved any kind of changes to the CRI layer, or if it was just changes to kubelet? Like,
no, there isn't anything in this one, but they have done some work in the CRI layer before, I think.
or how do I get plugged in with this group? Because it's possible that the work that I want to do is for UID shifting mounts dovetails nicely with this, and I just don't understand what exactly they're doing.
I would take a look at the CAP.
Yeah.
Read through the CAP. I think this is being driven by SIG node, right? So maybe also show up at a SIG node meeting.
Yeah. Okay, so the number on that KEP is, I can't see the screen. 1371.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can send you offline message, man, in Slack. There you go.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, I wanna get plugged in.
I sent you, so yeah, you can take a look whenever you're back.
Okay, next one. It's a PVC created by Stateful set will not be auto removed. Did this one make it? Michelle, do you know the status of this one? I thought.
Yes, it made
it.
it.
Oh, cool.
At the last minute.
All right.
It didn't get any SIG apps approval, but Clayton approved it on behalf of SIG apps.
Okay, cool. But I think they reviewed it last time, right? I mean, like a few releases back, I thought they reviewed it. It's not like they didn't review it at all. So
yeah. It's just, I think for this particular release cycle, nobody in SIG apps had time to actually take another look.
Okay. But I thought they actually approved that they actually merged the API changes last time, like a few release back.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. So we still need doc changes then? Doc?
Yeah, the docs PR is open.
Oh, it's open. Okay. Okay, good. Glad that it's actually finally made it. All right. It's also is Matt also working on a blog for this one?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Next one is a word expansion for stateful set. I think, Hemant, did you review this?
Oops, sorry, I was speaking on mute. Not yet, but I'm starting working on it this week.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not this week. Next week, I'll start looking on it.
Next one is container notifier. So I think this one's still an update. I think we need to schedule a meeting. Yeah, I think we need to schedule a meeting with Derek. I heard he was busy something, so we'll see. We'll see if we can figure out some time to have a meeting with him.
The container notifiers for things like FS freeze and quiesce and all that.
So this is the application level one. This is the one that we did. We're going to do this with Signal. So I think the FS freeze that can also be part of it, right? Because this is not like we automatically adding any freeze command.
Right, but it's a facility for doing things like quiescing applications.
Yes. This is for application quiesce. Yes. Okay. I think that's all we have in our spreadsheet. So To go back to this, we have one. So we have a couple of things. So this, so Humble asked me to add this one because he has a question about this review. Yeah, so this one is basically trying to add this node expand secret ref. And let's see, I think, but then we got some review comments from the API reviewer, basically saying that this one actually need a feature gate, alpha feature gate. So I think he was asking, he think that the control expand secret ref did not need a alpha feature gate, right? This one now need an alpha feature gate.
I think the answer is we did it wrong for the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I don't remember at that time the CSI expansion itself. What was the status? So but we probably did it wrong at that time.
Okay. All right. So okay, I'll just say answer is we should only be API. Use should have alpha for. All right. So okay, so now the next steps is to what we have to wait. So this one will be like 1.24, right? Since this need a cap, correct?
Yeah.
So this would be a like, I think this probably will need a new issue, right? A new issue and new cap. The new. We can kind of add this one as part of the volume expansion, right?
Yeah, I think the way that the keps are structured right now, you can't really have like two different feature gates with different timelines.
Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be okay in 1.24. Try to write a cap and then get that merge and then update this one. Okay. So next one. So Adam added this one. Do you want to talk about this, Adam? Is Adam here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So this
document.
Yep. So this is a draft cap that I've been circulating more with folks in Red Hat, and I posted to the SIG storage mailing list. I think I also posted the link to SIG auth and SIG security. The idea is to, at least in this draft version of the cap, is to augment the pod security admission plugin so that basically a CSI driver that provides the inline ephemeral volumes can declare kind of, I call it an effective profile, but it's basically the level that we should consider the CSI driver safe for use if a namespace is either enforcing or adding warnings and audit labels to pods, given the pod security standards and the way they're enforced with the pod security plugin. So maybe if you scroll down a little bit, you can see kind of how it would work. So the mechanism is that either a cluster administrator or a maintainer who is creating a CSI driver that provides inline ephemeral volumes can add this label and give it the value of restricted, baseline, or privileged. And then when the pod security admission plugin is evaluating the pod to see whether or not it should either be accepted or if warnings or audit labels or audit annotations should be added to the pod. It will basically look up the reference CSI driver, see if the profile for the driver aligns with the pod security profile, and then make the decision accordingly. So if a namespace has, for example, the is enforcing the restricted profile, if you are using a CSI driver that declares itself as safe for only baseline or it's safe only for privileged workloads, then the pod is denied and it's not admitted. Whereas if the driver gives itself the restricted profile, then it would be allowed to be run in any namespace. And then similar decision tables exist for adding warnings back to the user if they try to create a pod that uses a CSI driver whose basically effective profile doesn't align with the pod security profiles on the namespace. I'm bringing this here because this is affecting storage and it's affecting CSI drivers, but also because it might be a bit controversial to enhance the pod security admission plugin in this way. And so as an alternative, the idea would be to create a separate admission plugin that would focus only on this aspect. And so
what is the story about backwards compatibility or setting of defaults?
So that's where the setting of, in both of those, that's where there are advantages to enhancing the pod security admission plugin. So by default, we can have the CSI drivers be treated as having the restricted profile, which aligns with the current pod security standards. However, that is something that I propose can be configured with the just like the other pod security plugins. Or just the admission plugins configuration. The other thing that exists inside of the pod security admission plugin is that they define levels for the checks. So if this check is introduced, we would introduce it for the version of Kubernetes where this is introduced as likely alpha. So, or we might have to work with SIG auth to determine how we would do this, so that certainly if in the pod security admission plugin, you can say, I want to enforce the restricted profile as of Kube 122, for example. Or you can have it be, I can want it to be enforced for Kube 121 and so forth. So we could make it so that this only applies to new versions of Kubernetes.
But I was just thinking about new versus old versions of the CSI plugins themselves. Like it could be that a CSI plugin has different security characteristics across versions, and it needs to be able to declare whether it thinks it's safe, right?
Yeah. So I guess the question is, that is a really interesting thing to think about. If you have a CSI drive, if you have a pod already, and you have the CSI driver update itself, will that pod still run, or will the pod have to be deleted?
Well, I mean, someone should be able to override whatever you do, but like, so if an admin just wants to make it so, he should say, sure, go ahead, do this. But I imagine that CSI plugins will have a recommendation, like this one is secure and is safe to run with any sort of restricted pod, but this one is less secure and should only be run with privileged pods. So they'll at least want a way to communicate from the CSI plugin's perspective what a reasonable default is, and then let the admin override that if he wants to.
Yep. So in that sense, it would, all this happens on pod admission. So I think for certainly when the pod is created, these checks would go in. So if someone tries to create the pod and admission is denied. If the admin then changes the value of the label and then tries to create the pod again, then that check will be rerun and it should succeed. What I don't know, and may have to think about a little bit more, is when a pod is updated, if these checks and triggers will be rerun again. Because I think for like, if I'm not mistaken, like you can't update a lot of things about the volume spec once the pod has been created.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Most of the storage related configuration for a pod is immutable. If you want to add new volume, you just delete the pod and get a new one.
Yeah, so it might be the case then that we'll have to note that these checks really should only be done on pod creation, and they shouldn't be done on pod update, because then we're effectively changing the volume on update, and that's not something that we can or should allow.
I guess the main reason I brought it up is because of interest to this group is going to be, for those who have CSI plugins, how do you express what level they should be compatible with, right? Like, because every CSI driver will need to have an opinion on what its security policy should be.
Oh, is this only for this CSI inline volume? This is not for every volume type, right? I think this is
correct. This is only, I've scoped it only to the CSI inline ephemeral volume. I've left generic ephemeral volumes and
that's
persistent volumes out.
I see. Yeah. Okay. So you said you talked to SIG auth. Do they have any concerns about adding this to the pod security itself?
So I have just discussed this a little bit with David Eads, who sits on SIG auth. The general idea here of adding a label to CSI drivers, the CSI driver object, he was in favor of it. But in terms of enhancing the pod security admission plugin, I haven't gotten any feedback one way or the other. My concern is that when I think it's going to be after Thanksgiving is when SIG auth meets next. I plan on bringing this to them at that meeting. My concern is that they may reject this approach, and they may ask us to implement our own independent plugin if we want to implement this.
So this plugin, can this be auto tree, or does this have to be in tree? If we do this ourselves, that's my question.
Yuri, we could make admission webhook, which would be optional, similar to, I don't know, Snapshot webhook that we have today.
I'm sorry, you saying this is like, can this be? I guess my question is, can this be auto tree? Like
we can have optional webhook, but I don't think we can make it mandatory in any way out of tree.
Oh, it has to be. Okay, that's my question. Yeah, I was not sure how this. Okay, so it has to be kind of a in tree. Okay.
If the policy is good, we want to impose this policy on every Kubernetes cluster, then yes, it needs to be in tree. But
I see. Okay.
If we want to have it optional, cluster admin chooses if they want this policy or not, then it can be out of tree and anybody can do it.
I mean, what are the real security risks? Like, why would someone want to say, pods, restricted pods can't use this particular type of volume?
I have seen CSI drivers which use inline CSI volumes to point to a random NFS server, for example. So any user can point to any IP address in the class.
Okay. So
if they are lucky,
some of them act
any
like wormholes out of your namespace, and you don't want to
Yep.
grant everyone the power to do that.
Yep.
So the main driver that supports this is that the C? Oh no, that's not it. I was thinking about something else.
So it's I think the secret store CSI driver uses this mechanism today.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Do they have admission plugin? I don't think so.
Not the NFS stuff, but the inline
Yeah.
ephemeral volume.
Yeah, sure. So the secret store is a good example of safe CSI driver, I would say. You can just get some random secret, and there is extra authorization step that checks that the user has really access to that secret. So you can't misuse that CSI driver for anything bad.
Okay, so you said you are going to talk to SIG-auth and see if this can be added to the power security admission plugin, and then if it got rejected, then maybe we can talk about if we should do this as a separate webhook, then either in tree or optional out of tree.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if we go the route of having a separate webhook. I think regardless of it's in tree or out of tree, we'll still have the challenge of having potentially different defaults if folks change if people change the configuration or the default configurations. It's one thing for us to use the same kind of ideas throughout. It's another thing though, if say, and I think I put this as a potential drawback of the alternate approach of having a separate webhook, is if you configure the pod security admission plugin to enforce the restricted profile by default, if we then have the separate webhook enforce effectively privileged by allowing any CSI driver to provide these, then you kind of have at least a little bit of a mismatch in terms of intent. And that might be something that we just have to live with and thoroughly document. That these two plugins they're loosely coupled, but they should be share similar types of configuration.
Yeah. Anyone have any other comments about this? Okay, then because this doc, you have this doc here, so everyone can add comments there, and maybe after you talk to SIG-auth, you can come back, and then we can talk about what's next.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. Are there anything else? I think that's all we have for today. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Xing.
Thank you, Xing.
Thanks.